Welcome to the cold weather 10% challenge with the Hyundai Ioniq 5. The quick explanation of what the 10% challenge is. We are going to run the battery pack down to 10%. I've already done that. Then we plug into a fast charger. In this case, we're at Electrify America, and we will charge for 15 minutes. And at the end of that 15 minutes, we will unplug and oh my gosh, it is so cold. I'm having trouble. And at the end of that 15 minutes, we will unplug, hop on the freeway, and drive at 80 miles per hour. Now, we are also going to run the climate control at 70 degrees. Because it is so cold outside, I'm also going to be running the steering wheel heater and the seat heater at 1, because again, we're simulating the real conditions that you would really use on an actual road trip. And we're going to see exactly how far we can get on 15 minutes of charge in the cold. Because the battery pack is so cold, we're going to get not very much for this first round of charging. We will then come back to this charger. I'll do another round of charging and we'll see how much we get on that second 15 minutes after the pack has warmed up. This is a Hyundai Ioniq 5 Limited. It's the all-wheel drive, larger pack. And the interesting thing about the 10% challenge with this car, in this weather, it is currently 12 degrees Fahrenheit outside. It is very, very cold, and this car is a charging monster. It is fantastic for road trips when the battery is warm. Oh, wow. Okay, so we've been on battery preconditioning for 12% of the battery so far. We're at 22%. It's going to shut off in 2%, which is going to correlate to about 4 minutes. And we've gone all the way from -2 as a battery minimum up to 0. And from 0 as a battery maximum to 5 degrees. The car wants to be at 20 degrees centigrade throughout the pack. So this is going to take a long time to warm up and actually work properly. When the battery is cold, it's not that great. The preconditioning is pretty mediocre and it runs out at 20%. Hyundai will not allow the car to precondition below 20% in the battery pack, which frankly is the thing that Hyundai, Genesis, Kia needs to fix. There, we've hit 19%, so battery preconditioning should shut off any second. There it goes. Battery is no longer preconditioning. Oh boy, we've gotten all the way up to 6 degrees as the warmest part of the battery pack and 2 degrees as the coldest part of the battery pack. We're at 19%, so the battery is going to get colder before we can actually get where we need to get and start charging. This is not going to do well on this test. But this is a real world test, and in the real world, this car is terrible at charging when its pack is cold. And that's what you're going to have when it's 12 degrees outside. All right, we're pulling in with exactly 10% battery. That's preheat.com. Oh, it was real pain. Connecting the vehicle. Here we go. Let's see how long this takes to connect. Actually, went pretty fast. Well, one contactor went. There we go. Spin it up. Charging started. Excellent. So you can see we are running the climate at 70 degrees. Auto 1, we're not using the full blasting cycle. Also, I have it set to driver only because when I'm on a road trip, I generally do that. It conserves a little bit of power, not a whole lot, but you know, enough to make a difference. And you can also see that currently the pack is using 4.6 kilowatts of what's coming in just to preheat the pack. And it's showing right now 40 minutes to get to 80%. It is charging very slowly because the battery pack is still cold. All right, and here you can see we have been charging for 5 minutes already, and the max temperature in the battery pack is only up to 12 centigrade. The minimum temperature in the battery pack is only up to 5. I don't think we're even going to get to 20 degrees throughout the pack, which is what this battery pack wants in order to take full power. I don't think we're going to get there before we have to leave. And again, while we are charging, I'm having the seat heater run a little bit, the heated steering wheel run, because my hands are freezing and I'm trying to warm up. And you can see it's getting warmer outside. We're up to 13 degrees now. Toasty, toasty. So our check-in at 10 minutes of charging, and you can see we're only up to 23%. It's showing 79 kilowatts coming into the car, but 2 kilowatts of that is being eaten up to heat the interior of the car, and 4.7 kilowatts of that is being used by the battery preconditioner. In this case, just the battery conditioner, because the heater is working overtime trying to get the battery pack temperature up to snuff. This car just does not like charging in the cold. It is a completely different car than if you're driving around at 50 degrees Fahrenheit or above. Anything about, 15 degrees centigrade and warmer. So we'll see what we can get out of the car in 15 minutes. But right now, my guessometer is showing 48 miles of range. It's not looking good. All right, that is 15 minutes. Over here, hit stop. Oh boy. Oh, that's bad. That's really bad. Okay, here we go. Plug. Go back. And we're off. This is showing 61 miles of range. We got all the way up to 31%. So we're gonna get on the freeway. I'm immediately gonna put in a charging destination to start preconditioning, and we'll see how far we go. Getting on the freeway. Not too crazy acceleration. We just want to simulate, we're going on a road trip. And, we're doing sort of the bare minimum to conserve energy. Nothing too extravagant. We're going to set the cruise control to 80, which I have measured in this car is actually 80 on the GPS. So, here we go. We're merged onto I-15. We're going 80 miles an hour. All right, and we're also going to put in our closest charging destination, which is the Walmart that we just came from. There we go, start guidance. We should start getting battery preconditioning here in just a minute. There we go, battery preconditioning activated. Now drawing a pretty healthy amount of battery power to heat the pack. We'll see what happens. Now that we've started battery preconditioning, you can see the max temp is about where we want the minimum temperature to be. And the minimum temperature is off by 6 degrees centigrade. I don't know how much we're going to get with 8% of the battery pack. We're going to have to turn around fairly soon anyway. And I know a bunch of you are saying, well, this isn't really a real world test because you wouldn't only charge for 15 minutes. You didn't get enough range to get to the next charging station down the freeway. And that is 100% true. But this is what we're testing, is what you can get out of 15 minutes. When we pull back in the second time, we're going to get a lot more charge in 15 minutes. But, the simple fact is, these are the specifications of the test. It's not going to look good for these EGMP cars for the first charge. I suspect the second charge is going to look a heck of a lot better. All right, and because we put so little range in the pack, I haven't even gotten all the way out of Utah County yet. I've only driven about 10, 12 miles. We're going to get off here and turn around because we're down pretty low in the battery pack. We're almost done preconditioning the battery. We're still drawing on the preconditioning. We do this as a loop style test, so I drive half the range that we put into the battery one way down the freeway, then turn around and come back. That helps account for any losses we would get from hills, wind, anything like that. It just levels it out, and theoretically this should be exactly the range that you would get if you were on perfectly flat ground with no wind. All right, we're back on the freeway. We're back up to speed. Battery preconditioning is shut off. Let's see what temperature we got in the pack. Okay, so while preconditioning, the maximum temperature in the battery came up by 2 degrees. The minimum temperature of the battery went down by 2 degrees. Well, as you can see, we've gone an entire 27 miles. We're down to 15% battery, and we are about 4 miles from the charger. So we're gonna have to get to that exit, loop around, and do a little bit more. So even though battery preconditioning is off, the max temperature of the battery has come up a little bit, and the minimum temperature of the battery has come up significantly, which tells me that at least this battery pack is doing a good job of circulating heat around the different cells. So yeah, I'm interested to see what kind of charging speeds we're gonna get. Obviously it'll be reduced until the battery minimum comes up to 20%, but I suspect on our next 15 minutes, we're gonna put a lot more juice into the battery. All right, we've turned around and are heading back south. We're at 12% state of charge. We've gone 32.6 miles. All right, there we go. 35 miles in 15 minutes of charging with a cold-soaked battery at, it was 12 degrees Fahrenheit when I started charging. Got all the way up to 14 degrees or 15 degrees by the time we were finished charging. But that's it, 34.9 miles. All right, you can see here we're pulling in at 12 degrees minimum temperature in the battery. So a truly terrible result for the 10% challenge in the Hyundai Ioniq 5 Limited in cold weather. We're gonna run this test again when it is 60 to 70 degrees outside, and it is going to be a completely different car. It is absolutely wild. So on a true long distance road trip, you're gonna be charging more than once, and we're going to run that test now to see how much we get the second time we put 15 minutes worth of charge into the battery. So you can see we're down to 7% battery, which is more real world for me. I usually go below 10% in the pack. I'll actually often get down to around 5 or slightly below 5% when I'm driving. But I also generally drive more than 41 miles after a charge. So let's see what we can do. Open, grabby, pluggy, ready. There we go.
Charging started.
Charging started. Thanks, Ioniq lady. You can see the battery conditioner is working away. Hopefully it'll get that battery up to temperature soon. Showing a long time to 80%, coming up pretty slowly still. After 5 minutes of charging, battery temperature still has not changed. The maximum and the minimum are the same. You can see the battery heater is warmer, the coolant for the battery is warmer, but absolutely no change in the battery pack itself. This is a little surprising to me. Oh, there we go, the battery minimum came up 1 degree. We're cooking now. Just a reminder, we got to get up to 20 degrees Celsius to get the full power draw into the pack, and we're nowhere close 5 minutes in. All right, we're now up to 15 degrees as a minimum in the battery pack, and we just bumped up significantly in our charge speed. This is still nowhere near the maximum that the car can do. It should be at about 240 kilowatts right now, but we did just come up significantly to 127, 128. Of course, 5 of that is being eaten by the battery heater, but still, big improvement. We're going a lot faster than we were last time with 5 minutes left to charge. This is still nowhere near what we actually need for a road trip, but the battery pack is heating up. I'll show you where we're at 15 minutes, and then we're gonna go fully into the pack. We're gonna go all the way up to 80%, which is generally what I do on a road trip. I generally go until I have about 10% overhead to get to the next charging station, just for safety's sake. Usually that means somewhere between 70 and 90%. I often just go to 80% because with this car, the charging curve is absolutely bananas all the way up to 80%. It ramps down at 80, but is still pretty fast up to 90. So if I have to, I'll take it up to 90%, and it usually only takes a few more minutes. But this is for the sake of a test, not necessarily for the sake of what you would actually do on a road trip. In reality, you would go really deep into the pack on that first charge. It'll heat the pack all the way up, and then all your subsequent charges after that should be much, much quicker than what we've gotten. We're just about to hit 20 degrees as a minimum temperature on the pack, and once that happens, this car really should start ripping. But we only have 45 seconds left, so we may not hit it in time. All right, we have just hit 20 degrees in the pack. We have about 25 seconds left in our 15 minutes, but you can see we're ramping up speed significantly. The battery heater has turned off, so all of that power is going into the battery now. And that is it. 15 minutes got us up to 35%. So very exciting. More range than we had last time, but not by a lot. But we are now cooking much, much faster because the battery is warm. So we're gonna let this fill up to 80%, and the battery is gonna continue heating up. It should have enough heat that it will precondition again if it needs to before we get to the next charge station, but it should be significantly warmer, and it'll charge much, much faster on that next charge. This charge already went faster, and that's even with the battery not heating up enough in our first 15-minute charge session.